can we just start with what we know? What do we know for certain about the source of the attack on the Golan Heights yesterday?
We know that it was a Falcon 1 rocket produced in Iran, fired by Hezbollah. It murdered 12 children from the Druze community. They were playing football at that time on their local stadium, and there are dozens of others still injured in Israeli hospitals.
How do you respond to Iran's accusation that this is in some way Israel's responsibility and that evidence of Israeli aggression?
Well, I don't even think I have to clarify that these cowardly acts of Iranian proxies, in this case Hezbollah, and the atrocities in the south executed by Hamas, are part of the general plan of Iran that, in their view, leads to the annihilation of this so-called Zionist entity. They can't even pronounce the words "the State of Israel." They have plans of their own, but we have different plans for our future here. It's terrible to mourn 12 young children, but it's at the same time leads us to the obvious conclusion: we can't live here peacefully, develop our country, strike new peace accords with our neighbors here in the area, as long as we will be threatened by Hezbollah in the north and Hamas in the south, and by Iranians running this whole show. We will have to react, not to react in terms of revenge, but to react in terms of getting rid of that danger and bringing back dozens of thousands of Israeli citizens who right now can't be in their homes on our northern border and had to be evacuated to the center of the country.
Mr. Edelstein, I think everybody will sympathize with the shock, but is it right, or is it the wisest course for the Israeli Prime Minister essentially to start by promising retaliation? Is this not a moment when perhaps efforts should be devoted to lowering the temperature rather than raising it?
Well, it's always good to lower the temperature as long as we know that the danger disappears. If it's about a make-believe game, the type that some of us were trying to play in the South, saying that Hamas has been deterred, they're much more involved in building life in Gaza, they kind of neglected their idea of attacking Israel. Well, unfortunately, we learned the hard way what the ultimate result of that approach was. So I don't think that what Prime Minister or any other high-ranking Israeli official means is that we have with, crazy look in our eyes to start thinking about how we bring revenge, retaliate immediately towards Hezbollah. It should be part of the general effort, as I've said, to get rid of Hezbollah on our border, to get them as far away as possible, or even better, destroy them as a terror organization in order to live peacefully in any part of the state of Israel, which, I repeat, is not the case right now. People neither in the south of the country nor in the north of the country can't live peacefully because of the kind of attacks that we witnessed yesterday.
So we would not expect to see what some people would describe as a punishment response from Israel, but essentially a defensive one.
Trevor, there is no way to punish someone for deaths of 12 innocent children. I don't know what kind of punishment we can talk about. The only way to react is, as I've said, to continue destroying the infrastructure of this dangerous terror organization called Hezbollah, and to bring safety and calm and peace to our residents in the north of Israel.
All right. Well, perhaps we ought to talk about how you deal with terrorist organizations. This morning we are hearing that there have been deaths of 30 more people in Gaza. The Israeli Defense Force has said that its action was directed at a Hamas command center. That may or may not be the case, but children have died in that attack. You can understand why from the outside, whatever the intention might be, the outcome has been the punishment of innocents.
Hamas, unfortunately, proved in all possible ways that it gave a new meaning to the word human shield. It's not only protecting itself with civilians, it's interested in the death of civilians in order for normal people all around the world to say, this is something we can't take anymore. Israel has to stop, bring ceasefire, and so on and so forth. This is their, not tactics, this is their strategy to push as many civilians as possible into the line of fire. Israel is not giving them that pleasure. That's why if we look at facts and figures of what's been happening in the urban warfare in Gaza, including all these tunnels for the last several months, I think these figures prove that no army in the world ever had anything close to the rate that Israel managed to reach. At the same time, don't misunderstand me. We regret every loss of innocent life of every civilian, even more so of a child. But as I've said, Hamas brought it upon themselves.
May I ask you your reaction to the decision by the United Kingdom government in the last 48 hours to drop its opposition to the prosecution of Mr. Netanyahu for war crimes in the International Criminal Court?
Very disappointing. And one thing we have to keep in mind, if you can do it to Israel, you can do it to any other democracy in the world defending itself from terror attacks. Just imagine the terrorists will try to do something right now in Paris during the Olympics, and the French government will react forcefully, as they should. And next thing they will know that there would be accusations in the ICC of, let's say, French defense minister, interior minister, of committing crimes against humanity or crimes against innocent population, or you name it. So I think that this is something to keep in mind. It's not just a political move. It's not about this or that constituency. It's a strategic mistake.
May I just ask one quick last question? We've seen the departure this week from the White House, or from the race for the White House, I should say, of what Mr. Netanyahu called the Irish-American Zionist, Joe Biden. What difference do you think a President Harris might make to the United States' stance towards Israel?
It's still too early to judge, but I think that President Biden was really a good friend and staunch supporter of Israel for many years. The good record being an American leader, a Democrat with his own obvious political views, he always knew that Israel was on the good side of history. And I sincerely hope that Vice President Harris, who basically, I use this expression, grew up politically, publicly with President Biden, sharing his approach, sharing his commitment, will continue the same line. We will always have some difference of opinions with our American friends. It has always happened. But having said that, I'm absolutely positive that the main line won't change.